Awesome. Welcome everyone to our Biology, Allied Health, Chemistry, and Biochem event. My name is Randall. I am an admissions rep here at Azusa Pacific University. I'm just gonna wait for a couple of folks to trickle in, get logged on here. So sorry for the few folks logging on first. You can hear me quite a bit, but we have some lovely guests on screen that'll love to tell you more about the department. So we'll kick off with some introductions in just a couple of moments. But again, I'm just gonna wait a bit just so some folks can log on. So get situated, grab some water, feel free to lay in bed, grab some popcorn if you want, whatever you want to do at home to feel comfortable. But we're going to wait probably 2 or 3 minutes while we get logged on here. But again, my name is Randall. Thanks for coming to our admissions event today. And again, I'm going to introduce these lovely folks on screen in just a few moments. So thank you all again for tuning in today. Awesome, seeing some names, awesome. And then again, if you have any questions at all during today's event, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box down below. So we are saving some time at the last half of the event to ask some questions from our 2 faculty members and a student we see on screen here. One of the best ways to get connected with a faculty member, learn a little bit more about the department, ask them direct questions. This is the best way to get connected, especially if you're coming from out of the area, out of state, a great way to engage with your potential future faculty. I'll probably just wait one more moment and then we'll get started with today's event. Awesome, seeing some names filter in here. Great, great. I feel like I should have like some background music going on while we're waiting for folks to like trickle in. And probably just one more minute while we get some folks to log in here. Again, super excited that you're all looking at APU. So we may have some seniors in the room, we may have some juniors, sophomores, freshmen, maybe even some transfer students. This event is for everyone. So you're all going to learn the same information. You'll get to hear from these 2 lovely professors and another student we have here at APU. But we'll go ahead and get started. So for those that didn't hear at the beginning, my name is Randall Chavez. I'm an admissions rep here at Azusa Pacific University. I am joined by 2 lovely faculty members and a student here today. I'll start off with John. John, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, maybe your role at APU, how long you've been here, and yeah, let's start off with that.
Well, thank you, Randall. So as Randall said, my name is John Milhan, Dr. Milhan. I have been at APU 21 years, and I kind of affectionately say that I've been here for actually almost 50 years since my dad started working here back in the 70s. I came here as a freshman undergraduate student in the 80s, so I've been around a while. I teach in the biology department. My specialty is cell biology, and I'm also kind of part of the group of faculty that kind of specializes in talking with high school students and transfer students. And so love being here, love to answer your questions and tell you more about our program.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Milhan. Such a lovely experience. Definitely a lot of big words we're probably going to hear today that I might not know. So I'm glad that these folks are here today to explain a little bit more about that. But Ryan, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Ryan Summers. I also teach in the biology and chemistry department. My background is in physical therapy. So I teach anatomy and physiology in a couple upper division classes. And then also I kind of work with the pre-PT and OT tracks to kind of get them ready for grad school. So like John, I'm kind of a lifer at this school too. I actually had Dr. Milhan as an instructor myself. So I did undergrad and then I got my doctorate in physical therapy here. And then I've basically been teaching as an adjunct for a while. And then about 3 years ago, I decided to go full time. So any questions you may have, feel free to ask.
Totally. Well, thank you, Dr. Summers. And then Lauren, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, well, a little bit of a different question because you're actually a current student. So if you wouldn't mind letting us know what major you are, what year you are, and let's throw in hometown. The 10 days for you today, you're going to start practicing those three things, your major, hometown, all those questions. You're going to answer more than a million times even after graduating. So Lauren, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, so as you said, my name is Lauren. I am a senior here at APU. My major is allied health, and I actually have a psychology minor as well. Hometown is Portland, Oregon, so I came out of state down here, and I am doing an allied health major and pursuing occupational therapy. So that will be 3 more years after this, but I graduate this December. And so any questions you have specifically about the allied health major, or even just classes in general, or just questions for a student, I'd be happy to answer those.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Just a wide variety of professions, just expertise that you're going to hear from today. And like all these three lovely folks said, if you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the Q&A box down below. We'll be able to directly answer your questions, which is so awesome as a high school student being able to access some just very wonderful resources. And then later on in today's event, we'll provide some other ways to get connected in case you think of one after today's event. Maybe you wake up in the middle of the night and really want to ask something about biology. We'll give you an email, give you a phone number. But I'm going to pass the mic off to our two lovely faculty here to let you know a little bit more about our Department of Biology and Chemistry.
Well, great. Thank you, Randall. What I think what we're going to do is we have a couple of slides I want to show you. And I promise you, I'm not going to bore you to tears with yet another PowerPoint presentation. But I just want to kind of run through the framework of what our department looks like, so that you can kind of get an idea of some of the questions you might want to ask. So let me share some slides with you here real quick. And so let me share this screen here. How does that look to y'all?
Looks great.
All right, that's what I need you to know. Thank you, Dr. Summers. So you are talking with folks in the Department of Biology and Chemistry. So it's a joint department between those two fields of study. What I think I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about what makes us unique. And that's maybe part of your journey, is looking at different universities and beginning to ask the question of what am I looking for in a university, and trying to find some of the uniqueness of each university to see what attracts you. And so that's really kind of my goal here, is trying to show you a little bit about us and some of the things that make us unique. So what you see on this slide are 4 majors, and we've designed these majors around just about anything you could possibly want to do in a way of a career path. You can see the allied health is a very kind of pre-professional type major, where PA, PT, OT, public health. We have lots of folks who come in here who intend to go into nursing when they're done. And the teaching thing on the end of that, we have a joint allied health high school teaching credential program that is a kind of a pipeline program that I think is really kind of cool. The biochem major, really well suited, especially for people who want to do a PhD and go into industry. But lots of our biochem students apply to medical school and dental school. The biology major is probably the broadest. We have 5 tracks in it, and it can take you almost anywhere that you'd want to go, including medical and dental school, veterinary school. You can see the list of things there. If when we're done with all of this and there's something interesting, like maybe you'd say, hey, boy, I want to be in pharmacy. What major would be good for me? We'll turn around and say, well, pharmacists typically do biochemistry. But if there's something that really interests you and you don't see it on the list, it'll fit one of our majors really well. Just let us know and we'll answer the question. So then, of course, the chemistry major, and we have some really great new interest in chemistry. And so a lot of these folks are doing pre-PhD work, heading for industry, potentially doing teaching. All right, what makes us unique? As far as we're concerned, we really prize the idea of interacting with our students, and so small classes is one of the things that has really driven a number of the faculty here to come to APU. We really enjoy the interaction we get with our students. Our coursework is very rigorous, and you'll find that when our successful students head off to graduate programs, they come back and tell us that they are often better prepared than the people around them. And that's one of our goals, is that you'd come away from an education and be really pleased with just how well prepared you are. The access to your professors will be a very kind of advantageous piece of all of this. Most of us sit in our offices with our doors open. I think probably 3 students come by this afternoon and just come in and sit down and talk about some pretty heavy stuff going on with them, not even academic stuff. And we really enjoy that part of our job. It kind of creates a bit of a family-like environment, and allows us to get involved with students at a much deeper level than just coursework. And so while we have a great advising program, and we really have a situation where students get to kind of plan their 4 years with help from faculty. I often have students who almost don't need advising because they're sitting in my office and getting advising even outside of times when advising normally occurs. And the last piece of that last bullet, no impacted classes. What that means is we can get you graduated in 4 years unless there is some circumstance. And that circumstance might be you've decided that you want to be both a nursing and be a music major and a biology major. Well, there are so many units there that can't be done in 4 years. But if we're talking about a typical course of study, biochemistry, for example, we will make sure that you have the courses available to you that you need so that you can graduate in 4 years. And so that really is fantastic compared to a lot of larger places where students often have a hard time getting classes they need. The last slide I'd like to show you just are some beyond the academic things that we have available to students. And one is an excellent on-campus research program. We have a great research facility. Most of our faculty have research programs that they work on, and they work on the research with undergraduate students. We don't have graduate programs in our department. And what that means is then undergraduates get to do the work. They get to do presenting at conferences. They get to write papers, write grants. And this is not stuff that's reserved for grad students. It's reserved for undergraduates. So I have currently 3 research students working with me. And we're going to go to a conference this coming spring and present our work, and it's a great situation. We have numerous outreach programs, and almost really kind of too many to list in the way of the places that we engage our community around us, from local to international. Our acceptance rates to graduate programs is pretty astronomical, and I think to me it is owed to just the kind of coaching our students get along the way, the types of letters of recommendation that we get to write for them because we know them so well. I think one of the key things that you should be interested in is what kind of learning in internships are available. And internships in biology and chemistry are not like the internships we see in business, but we have students who get both jobs and volunteer work in the field of biology and chemistry pretty routinely. It's not part of the requirement for our majors, but we have coursework that they can get credit for it as well. So, so if you add together the research experiences that we have, and then the types of places our students both volunteer and then work jobs, it will certainly keep you busy in the field without much difficulty. And then, boy, if I were to make a list of the on-campus clubs and events for our majors, we could be here all night, and don't want to do that. But rest assured, if you like kind of extracurricular stuff, there are more things than than you could ever do. The last slide is just simply an email address, the most important email address, because this is to Michelle Pilch, who is our office manager, and Michelle Pilch can get you anything you need, from a personal contact with a faculty member to PDFs of different things that you might need from our department. So if you ever need anything, this is the email you need. And so I just would either screenshot that or write that down real quick. We'll also put that in the chat at the end of our conversation today. So that being said, I think I took maybe 7 minutes for that, but I'd love to stop sharing this screen and let you ask questions and have our folks help answer some of them.
Dr. Milhan, thank you so much for sharing all of that great information. There's definitely a ton you can do with all the majors that you have in your department, but that's what these two faculty here are here for, to help you decide where you might want to go, what does postgrad look like, what does careers look like. You explained so many wonderful options. Definitely way above my head. I graduated film major, science. Don't tell anyone, I got C's in science and not my forte, but of course, everyone here in the room today, you are wanting to pursue something within this field, and that's what our faculty and students are here for. So again, if you have any questions, like Dr. Milhan said, feel free to place them in the chat down below. I'll go ahead and go through them and sort of prompt, so that way we can all hear the question and all get a response. And again, that last email, like you said, very, very important. If you do have any other follow-up information, we can also put it down in the chat. That way you can save it. Feel free to ask at any time, and that way you can get connected after today's event. But let me take a look at our questions here. Also loved what you really said about those small class sizes. I think that's something incredibly important, especially something you'll really find in a private education. Overall, the whole university average class size is 19 students. So like you said, accessibility to professors is everything. I'm hoping you can sort of feel the aura that Dr. Milhan is putting out, but we have tons of accessibility with our professors. So definitely wanting to have the small class sizes is incredibly important, and all the things you outlined, so awesome. But let me take a look at our questions here. I see one question regarding the conferences and research that we were speaking about earlier, and if there was a special application. Can you maybe outline what this may look like for incoming students? Is this something they'll look at towards the end of their time at APU, or can they start this earlier on? Do you help students find those research opportunities, or is it more hands-off? What does that look like for students wanting to do research?
I think probably I'm the best person to answer that one. It's there's a combination of things that go on and how to get involved. I would, well, I think the first thing I would do is every fall we have a conference on campus where our students who have worked the summer, and when I say work the summer, each faculty member sponsors at least one, if not two, students over the summer to be paid to do research. So, so when I say we do research projects and students work the summer, they're actually getting paid to do that. We get them all together in the fall and they present their work. And so the first thing I would do if I were interested is I would go to that research conference on campus. and just go from talk to talk and poster to poster and look at the work that's being done. But the second thing I would do is then begin to look at the names of faculty who are doing the research and begin to knock on doors, and do it kind of organically and say, hey, I'm interested in doing research. There are some faculty who need researchers all the time, some that have their labs nicely filled for at the moment. Some people want freshmen, some people need sophomores and juniors. So there's a mix of people who can be involved. But I think if you get on campus and you decide, yeah, I think research is for me, I think beginning to talk about it and talk to people and go to that research conference, find other students who are doing research and say, hey, how do I get involved in this? There isn't a formal application process. I have students who walk into my office and say, hey, I'm interested in a research experience. Tell me about your research. And of course, I'd love to do that. So it's more organic than formalized in the way of the application process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think that really just pours into, like I was mentioning earlier, accessibility. Accessibility is so, so important. And just having that personal interaction with being able to easily attend those fall conferences and be able to work with professors, and that, of course, being paid. So awesome.
Yeah.
The accessibility is so incredible. So I know with some other schools, I'm not sure with the sciences, but I know some of the schools you may not be able to engage with these sorts of things probably till junior, senior year. So it's so awesome that you're creating these opportunities. So let me take a look at some other questions that we have here. That was a great question. Okay, I see another one here. What is the possibility of double majoring or minoring with one of your majors? Is it like something you can do, or is this like no, totally avoid? What does it look like, and what might be a common like major that students might major with, like biology or chemistry? What are some common options if they can?
There's a lot of, it can be done, and it's done very frequently actually. There's a lot of minors you can get. If you're allied health, a lot of people get psychology minors. A lot of people that are in biology major also double major in honors. They get their, that is pretty frequent. John, is there any other ones that you've seen that are frequent? We've seen music every once in a while, very often, very little, like that's every once in a while.
The Spanish minor I've seen quite a lot. I think the psychology one is the most common, but Lauren's doing that. So Lauren, tell us about your psych minor.
Yeah, so I'm doing a psych minor with my allied health major, and especially for the allied health major, the psychology minor fits really well because there's already, I think it's 2 classes that I was required to take in the major, and so it was just a few more to add on to get that psychology minor. And it's been super applicable to the career that I want to go into for occupational therapy, because it's a lot of learning about, like right now I'm in a pediatric healthcare class. And so we get to learn a lot about pediatric healthcare, which is super applicable to what I want to do. And so the minor really does not feel like any extra work. It kind of just feels like it goes hand in hand with the major.
Awesome. And that's a great segue to my next question here. Lauren, as a student, can you speak into what work-life balance looks like for you? Are you just in research 24/7, or are you like going to Disneyland every day? What's it look like? And especially having that minor, it's sounding like it's pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but it is definitely an option that students can do. But can you speak into that work-life balance?
Yeah, I actually do go to Disneyland a bit. But especially freshman year, first semester, it took me a second to like figure out that balance, but it was not as hard as I was worried it would be in terms of trying to make time for both homework and studying and meeting people and getting involved in social events. And so I think a lot of it is just having an understanding of what you need to do for school, because then you can plan out how much time it's going to take you. So definitely there's weeks that it's a little bit harder to manage that work-life balance. But I definitely think it's doable, especially once you get familiar with your workload with school and how much time certain assignments are going to take you. So I think freshman year, first semester, it was a little bit of some trial and error in terms of deciding what worked best for me, but then it was pretty smooth after that.
Okay, awesome. And then this is sort of a follow-up, sort of two-parter question. Really, why did you choose APU? And then maybe more in depth, why did you choose to do allied health? And you spoke a little bit into psychology minor, but why did you really choose your major?
Yeah, so I as I mentioned earlier, I'm from Portland, Oregon. So I knew I was interested in going out of state for college, and specifically was drawn towards California due to the sunnier weather. And so then I decided to come and check out APU because my friend was actually already attending the school. And so she encouraged me to come check it out. And as soon as I got to campus, I really just fell in love with the community that I saw down here, and how every time I would go out with the ambassador that I was shadowing that weekend, there was always stuff happening, always people to interact with. And that was something that I was really drawn to. And on top of that, the major is actually one of the big reasons why I chose APU, because I was pretty set on going into occupational therapy. And so seeing that they had a major that was super designed to prepare me for that was really appealing. And in terms of how I chose occupational therapy specifically, I knew I wanted to do something in healthcare and something with children. And so I kind of just started shadowing in high school and got connected with an occupational therapist at a hospital near where I lived, and was able to just really fall in love with that career and what they were doing. And so a big reason why I ended up choosing APU was because I saw that the allied health major was going to prepare me well for that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. That's so awesome. Professors, this next question, excuse me, is for you. Let's say we have a student who knows they want to do something in sciences, maybe biology or chemistry, but they don't know what. Like, what advice do you have for these students who don't know how to choose between what major? And I think a pretty common question we get also is, okay, biology, chemistry, biochemistry, which one should I do? They're all pretty similar name-wise. Are they the same thing? Or like, what steps would you say to a student if they don't know which pathway to take?
So what do you think,
that one, John?
No, you go first, I'll go second.
With those three, the advantage is at the very first semester, it's not very different between the three. Everybody's taking Gen Bio 1, everybody's taking General Chemistry 1. And then you kind of I kind of go, where's your passion at, right? If you like chemicals, if you like that kind of processes, then go chemistry, right? If you want to do more pre-med and you love chemistry, then there's the biochemistry. But if you're not, you like more of the organismal kind of pathway and you definitely want to do pre-med, then yeah, I would say go biology. So it's what you're passionate about and what you feel drawn to.
Yeah, I have similar comments. I do think that the great value of having the first semester for even allied health, for biology and for biochemistry, the first semester is the same. And the value in that is that way you can get your feet on campus and walk into my office or Dr. Summers' office or anybody else and say, okay, I don't get it. Everyone seems to know what they want to do, but I'm the guy or gal that doesn't know what I want to do. And first thing we're going to say is that is totally okay. You're not a space alien. People change their minds. People don't know. I get it. But it allows you to have a conversation then and talk about, okay, what are your interests? You can walk into Dr. Summers' office and say, here are what my passions are. What are the types of things that would best suit me? And I think that's a great advantage.
Thank you, doctors. Pivoting slightly to service, are there any service opportunities through your program? I know we offer things like academic service learning. For those of you that may not be familiar, APU, one of our cornerstones is dedicated service. We really would love to serve our local and global community. What does service look like within your department? Are there some common like areas that students love serving in, or like what does that look like for your department?
Well, during COVID did its very best at completely destroying community service. And I think all of you in admissions and those of you who are here asking questions completely get it, because all these things that we used to get to do now people are saying, well, you can't send people there. You can't, people won't accept that. What's beautiful is we're starting to open those things back up again, and so we have these great programs that we've had that are getting back on their feet again. Lauren, community service. Have you done any service learning?
Yeah, the main service projects that I was involved in were with action teams. And so I know I personally didn't go on one that was medically focused, but there are options to go on ones that are specifically medically focused. Mine was a children focused one, however.
What is an action team?
An action team is we send teams of anywhere from 5 people to 25 people all across in different countries. Obviously, it's looked a little bit different this past year and a half. However, they are starting to get action teams back up and running, and each of them kind of have their own distinct mission. Most of them are partnering with a specific local ministry or missionaries there, or some of them are just going and doing things with the community. But there's a whole variety of them, from children-focused ones to medical-focused ones. There's some that you go and just do construction type projects. And so it was one of my favorite things when I was touring about APU that I heard, because I was super interested in doing something like that. So they have any kind of option that you could think of, and they go to so many different countries. And most of the trips are in the summer, but there are also options over Thanksgiving and spring break as well.
And thank you all for sharing. That's so exciting. You're able to take one of those trips. I never pursued action teams, but that is one of the biggest things that I regret, is pursuing one of those action teams. I have another question here. I'm not sure if you have certain stats, but I have a question from someone asking what the percentage of graduates getting into med school. I'm not sure if you have a certain percentage or if you have a rough average. It looks like they're also looking at maybe doing biochemistry and getting into med school. Is that something you would recommend, or would you say doing a slightly different track? What are your thoughts?
Well, so let me give you a little bit of the long answer as opposed to just giving a number. Mm-hmm. So first part of the long answer is, if you talk to medical schools, the major that is most represented in med schools is biochemistry. But that's not because they prefer biochemistry majors. It's because biochemistry majors also make up the largest set of applicants to medical school. So it's hard then to say, what would be the most favored by med schools. But that's not your question. Your question is, what percentage of our graduates? Well, I would say more of our graduates who are heading for med school are probably biology majors than biochem. And to feed into Randall's previous question, if you wanted to do med school and you didn't know whether you want to be biochem or biology, I simply would ask you, if you had to take an extra 2 upper division courses, and those upper division courses could be chemistry or they could be biology, which would you choose? Which would you like better? And if you said, boy, I'd like the chemistry classes better, then you're a biochem student. If you like the biology classes better, you're a biology student. Pretty easy as that. You take our students who apply, who want to go to med school. Your question is, what percentage get in? And I'm gonna give you an idea of those who apply, because you really can't talk about of those who enter as an undergrad, because of just how the great number of students who change ideas along the way, and that happens across every university. But the last numbers I heard were in the high 80s% of our students who apply to med school that get in. And I don't love those numbers, and I don't love that exact conversation, because I don't like reducing you to a number. But I would say, if you come to APU and you perform well and get involved in the things that pre-med students do, and impress your faculty, and get experience and get good letters of recommendation, then getting into medical school is not the trick. It's not an amazingly difficult thing. One of our best students is in the middle of applying, and I say best, I mean very high GPA, very intelligent, going to be near the top of his class. He already has so many interviews that he doesn't even know what to do with all of them. It's just he came in the other day, and I said I told you that you had applied to too many programs, because you're going to have to go to these interviews and you won't be able to make all of them. And so, but that's of course that's our top of our top students. We get lots of students in the med school that are not just simply top of our top. So,
and I could say the same thing for PT school, OT school, and nursing. All of those above.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing and explaining a little bit more, especially that distinction between deciding biochemistry or biology chemistry. That is a very, very useful gauge to help students get directed. But that's awesome how you're preparing students. I guess diving a little bit deeper into that, I know you mentioned the pre-professional tracks in your presentation. What might day in the life look like for a student that's in the pre-professional tracks? Can you explain what they might expect? If that's a big program that students really want to pursue, going to pre-medical, pre-dental, pre-OT, PUT, can you explain what that might look like for a student to pursue that option?
For the pre-PT track, I can definitely speak into that one. It's going to be, it's the coursework wouldn't look very different than just the typical allied health and BA and allied health. But with the extra track, it's more ancillary stuff. So you would get help writing your applications for grad school. You're going to have a committee letter. You're going to get access to practice interviews when that becomes available, when that time comes for an applicant to start doing that. And then also the top performers in that track, we have a kind of partnership with the physical therapy program at Azusa Pacific, and the top performers get an automatic interview there. So it's a cool, neat kind of pipeline, sort of, into from undergrad to grad school. What about the pre-med and pre-dentistry?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things about the question that Randall asked. One is, you're talking about day in the life of, and I think a general sense, this is being at a university is a very different, and maybe this is just a dumb answer, but very different than high school. Yeah, that is a dumb answer, because you'll end up taking 2 science classes every semester, 2 science labs likely every semester, and so you will really kind of eat, breathe, sleep science, and you'll fill in beyond that with general studies courses. And so the good part about that is you end up kind of creating cohorts of people who are like-minded. You have the same freshman courses with other freshmen who are doing the same types of things that you want to do. And you'll end up having those people in courses for the rest of your semester. Lauren, have you made friends with people you've had around you for the last 4 years?
Yeah, some of my closest friends at APU currently, we started freshman year in our allied health classes together.
So it's really common the way that works. But But the part of the advantage that Randall was referring to, and then Ryan talked about for allied health, is the kind of the help you get in these programs. We have a pre-med program that is designed for people who, of course, want to go to med school, but it's also designed for those who want to go to dental school as well. And with that program, it's a program you apply to your sophomore year. It's not a competitive program in that only we don't just allow a certain number of people in. We allow all the applicants who qualify, who are making good progress towards medical or dental school. And what comes along with that is we have a in-house MCAT review course. Like Ryan mentioned, we have help writing personal statements, help writing applications. You get what he referred to as a committee letter, which would mean we would take all of your letters of recommendation and put them in a portfolio and write a cover letter to that from the pre-med committee, which holds an immense amount of weight compared to just individual letters. And so, with the previous question that was asked, we have a high percentage of students who get into these programs, but it's this type of track that really helps that.
Got it. Wow, that's a ton of info, especially the preparation for the MCAT. I know I've had a few friends take the MCAT, and that's a pretty intense test. I'm glad I'm not pursuing medical school, but that's so awesome. You, excuse me, prepare the students to come up with those letters and for that exam. Now, let me look at our next question right here. Lauren, this next one would be for you, but how do you best thrive as a student at APU? You sort of touched on this earlier about like time management, going to Disneyland, but what are your sort of tips and tricks as a student without getting completely burnt out, but still, of course, thriving in the way that you are now?
Yeah, I feel like especially freshman year, like I think it's so important to just try a bunch of new things. Like freshman year, there's so many different opportunities like related to your major and outside of your major. Like I know my freshman year I did intramural sports, and so I was on like a ultimate frisbee team my first semester here. And so I just really recommend like trying a bunch of new different things freshman year, because then you'll kind of find what you're passionate about and what you do want to dedicate your time to. And then from there on, it's a lot easier to be able to manage your time and focus on the things that you really are passionate about versus the ones that you maybe don't care as much about. And so I definitely would encourage, especially freshman year, just like trying a bunch of new things.
Awesome. That's great advice. I would say same exact thing. Just be open to new things. Same question or not same question, same person, Lauren. Can you sort of touch on post-grad? Like what are your next steps and how did you feel best prepared for it? What's coming up after APU?
Yeah, so like I said, I graduate this upcoming semester in December. And so after that will be applying to grad schools for occupational therapy. And in terms of preparing for that, I feel like a lot of these similar types of majors, same with physical therapy, require a certain amount of like observation or shadowing hours prior to attending that graduate school. And so I feel like that has been something that's been pretty easy for me to obtain while in undergrad. And I know, especially like within my major, I've made a lot of connections with people who have shadowed other OTs and have gotten me connected with those same OTs. And so especially in undergrad, it has been really nice to be able to be prepared through all of that observation and shadowing hours, because it's where I've learned the most about OT so far. And so especially through like just talking to my classmates and professors and getting to hear about different shadowing experiences, that's how I've been able to get a lot of my hours for that as well.
And just to piggyback on that real quick, Lauren, in your field, that's probably what would be considered an internship, so to speak. Mm-hmm. The chance to go and shadow and work in the field in your field doesn't really take the form of a formal internship, but they need you to get hours. Mm-hmm. And so in this field, the chance, and this happens with physical therapy as well as Dr. Summers can attest to, also as in for PAs. But our students have all these networks to get these hours taken care of. I had one come in my office the other day and she said, I'm a senior. Oh my gosh, I don't have any hours yet. What do I do? And within 2 days, I had something come across my email that they needed someone to work and she's pre-med. And something came across my email that said, hey, we need someone to work in this physician's office. And I sent her the student's name and she was employed 2 days later. And so it just, those things happen.
Wow, that's awesome. Getting a really quick turnaround on that job. That's so great. Can you actually speak a little bit into some common places that students may partner with? Because I know you mentioned we have some partnerships. I think right off campus, maybe some not grad schools, some medical schools that your students are looking at and maybe are actually now attending. Do you have any name drops from local places that students typically partner with and such?
Wow. I mean, so we, of course, I can give you a long list of places our students have gone to graduate programs. But locally, we have a couple of programs that know our students really well and are very excited when they apply. One is just out to the east of us called Loma Linda University. They are a faith-based comprehensive medical program. They have a medical school, they have a PA program, they have a PT program. I am good friends with their recruiter, and he says that they love APU students and have more APU students from any other faith-based university. And so I think that's one. We also have just down the road here, about 8 miles away, a comprehensive cancer center called City of Hope. And the number of students we have both in their PhD program and then working in their labs it's just a continual group that go over there. So I think things like that are pretty common.
We also have a lot of students working at a local hospital that's not too far away doing scribing. So I can think of about 5 or 6 students that are doing that.
What's scribing, Ryan?
So scribing is when you follow a physician around at the hospital and they're dictating you what basically they can do, and you're basically doing their charting. So they're telling you what they're doing, why they're doing it. So for that patient's medical records.
So you become
that's a really good way of kind of getting hours in and kind of figuring out if medicine's kind of right for you. That's a kind of a fun way to kind of go about doing that.
And you learn, medical language, just you become an expert in speaking medicalese. So
awesome. Yeah, I hope everyone in the viewing room can sort of pick up on the theme that we really want to focus on that experience, being connected. Of course, we're going to deliver the best education, but definitely want to make sure we have those connections and partnerships. That is so incredibly important for any field, and especially preparing for medical school or grad school. So important. So thank you all for sharing a little bit about that. I'm seeing another question here about for your pre-professional programs, do you have to be a certain major to be able to pursue pre-med, dental, OT, PT? Is there a certain major within your department, or is it a bit more open?
So yeah, that's a really good question. The one that often I get is, what major do I need to be pre-med? And that kind of can carry over to just about any other direction you want to go. And the answer is none of these programs require you to be a particular major. They require prerequisite courses. But we've designed our majors around meeting those prerequisite courses. So the reason we have a pre-PT and OT track is because that major gives you the prerequisites that are required. If, let's say, you decided you want to go to med school, but you wanted to be an art major, that can be done, but you still need to have a year of calculus, 2 years of chemistry, a year of physics, 2.5 years of biology, Well, good heavens, that's the biology major. So you can be an art major, but you're still going to take all the courses that you need to essentially be a biology major as well, and then to do well in the MCAT. So what's the most common majors for us? Well, biology and biochemistry are the most common, but that's because if you're aiming at a target that's doing well in the MCAT and preparing yourself for med school, that target is a biology and chemistry target. So biochem and biology is an obvious choice.
So thank you. And of course, thank you for sharing a little bit about the common majors too. I think definitely as a film student, I don't think I could necessarily be best set up for pre-med with my cinematography or editing courses, but yeah, thank you for asking that in the chat there. We have about 9-ish minutes left. So again, if you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, we can go ahead and also drop some links in the chat. So if you have any other follow-up questions, we can send the information for the biology and chemistry department, which has all the majors that we were speaking about today. You can also email our admissions office in case you have any other admissions related questions. Of course, if you haven't started your application, that's the best way to sort of get more information, have you put in our system so we can send you more info about certain majors. If you want to take a tour on campus, you'll also see the visit link down there. We are open in person for campus tours. If you want to stop by the biology facilities and see Segerstrom and see what the facilities look like, again, we are completely open. So if you're local, if you're out of state, we would love to see you on campus. Again, if you have any last minute questions, let us know. See another one right here. Awesome. Lauren, this one's going to be for you as a student, but we've really touched a lot about this throughout the time here, but can you emphasize sort of the accessibility with professors and the small class sizes? How has that maybe benefited you in the class during your last 4 years here? I know you have so many things lined up, and I'm sure you probably got those through the tight connections that you had, but can you sort of highlight what that really did for you as a student, either academically or even just personally in your development over the last 4 years?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts about APU that has been so consistent over the 4 years I've been here has been the interactions with professors. Like any professor I've had in a class, if I want to interact with them, it is really easy to find a time to do that, whether it's just walking into their office hours or whether it's just emailing them individually and setting up a time. And I've gotten a lot of connections to just other things outside of APU through my professors. And so it has been really nice to be able to just build those relationships, both in an academic sense and in just a social, personal sense. So it's just super easy to get in contact with them, and all the professors are very interested both in your development in their class and outside of their class, just in general life. And so it's always been super nice to just be able to have both sides of that.
Sorry, we've been in Zoom for the past 1.5 years, and I still don't know how to unmic my microphone. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. That's so awesome. The connections you build. I'm still friends with my professors. I still know them, still chat with them. So that's so awesome. You're able to get so connected. In the last few moments that we have today, I just love finishing off on sort of the advice you would leave for students that are sort of in these different walks of life. Maybe they're seniors raring to go. Maybe they're not really sure what they want to do, what's coming up. Just a really general question, and I'll ask all three of you. Lauren, if you'd like to go first, is what is your advice for those listening in the room today, getting ready for college or getting ready to go to APU or getting ready to get into a field of biology or medicine? What just general advice you have for them?
Did you want me to start?
Yes.
Okay. I think in terms of just general advice, especially I know people going through the whole application process, it is very stressful. And I think there's a sense that you need to make a decision and have a plan all set and ready. So I think I would just encourage you guys to not stress if you don't have a decision yet or a plan yet. because it took me a while to decide on a college because I was looking at so many. And so, it's totally an okay thing if you don't have like a dream school or a dream job yet. So I would just encourage you guys to talk to people and ask questions about their majors, their jobs, because I think that's how you get the best sense of maybe what you want to do. And also just try to enjoy the process of applying to colleges and getting excited about that next phase of life and not worrying about if you don't have like a specific plan set yet.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Dr. Somers, do you have any advice for our prospective students?
Yeah, to kind of piggyback with Lauren talking about, be open to new experiences. I think you want to go check out colleges. You really want to make sure it's a good fit for you and your personality. You want to make sure the professors there don't treat you like a number. You want to make sure that you're cared for as a person, and that again, it's a good fit, and that no matter what, understand and believe that God's got a plan for you, and that it might look different than what you have in your mind, but it might be the best thing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then Dr. Milhan, do you have any advice for our students in the room today?
Yeah, I guess I want to say at the beginning is of all the questions that we've asked and answered, we really didn't get to talk much about how our faith here at APU totally informs everything we do, and that as followers of Christ, it makes becoming educated a whole different animal when you add the layer of kind of pursuing our relationship with Christ along with pursuing becoming educated in a particular field of study. And so we could turn around and do a whole nother hour on what it means to be a Christian and to be an academic person, and how that is fulfilling in its own way. Advice, I think Lauren and Ryan just hit the nail on the head. Lauren, you couldn't have said it any better. That you need to not worry about if you don't exactly know right now either what school or what major, that you pray about that, seek good advice about that, and it's something that you're talking about spending money on and spending years of your life on, and so spend more time dealing with it than you would buying a car. You need to kind of mull it over and ask good advice and pray about it and talk to people who are in different fields of study and have gone to different universities. Absolutely agree with what Lauren had to say. But I also would then add that if you're pursuing this thing honestly and doing the best you can, and trying to discern what God's will for you is, then this is not a win-lose proposition. God can use you in just about any situation you find yourself in. So I don't honestly believe that you could choose the wrong university and then suddenly find yourself in a total disaster because you chose the wrong place. And so don't put life or death on this whole thing. You do the best you can at pursuing God and pursuing your passions about your education, and I think that will turn out well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for just sharing all of your experience, and especially speaking about faith, informing just how we operate at school and how we interact with others. That is so vital to who we are as a university. But Again, for the two professors and Lauren as well, thank you all for your time here. And of course, for our participants viewing today's event, thank you so much for your time as well and for asking all these wonderful questions. In the chat, feel free to take a minute to screenshot, copy and save all that wonderful information. Those are all of our wonderful contact links if you have more questions for either of our professors here, or if you have any questions for us as admissions representatives, feel free to save that in the chat. We would love to